It's been almost 2 months since the Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evos roared to life, and today they bring their beauty to one of the most picturesque areas of the country, the Monterey Peninsula. You couldn't ask for a more beautiful backdrop while WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca and its famous corkscrew wreak havoc on these racers as they battle it out today on this iconic venue. It's race number 2 of the weekend for the Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America Series. Welcome to round 8 of the 2020 season from WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Thanks so much for joining us today. I'm Brian Till. Jeremy Shaw will join me in just a few for the race call, but first, enjoy the California weather. It is absolutely gorgeous today. 72 degrees, mostly sunny, slight breeze out of the north, and absolutely zero chance of rain. The fight for the championship in the pro class is certainly heating up. It's a 3-team, 4-driver battle that will play out over the next few weeks in the run to the championship. Change Racing's Madison Snow currently sits atop the points, but Stephen Agakani and Jacob Edson in the number 6 U.S. Ractronics Lamborghini want it, as does Brandon Godovic in the 46. Both of those teams are coming on strong and making a push for that number 1 spot. In Pro-Am, the 63 of Change Racing, with the lineup of Corey Lewis and McKay Snow, have owned the championship lead all season long. Now, let's go for a lap around WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca with Stephen Agakani in his number 6 U.S. Ractronics entry.
Hey everyone, my name is Stephen Agakani, driver of the number 6 SADA U.S. Ractronics Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo, and right now I'm going to show you a lap at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Here we go, coming with the turn 1. It isn't really so much a turn, more or less just a flat out turn. You want to make sure to use all of the exit track. Going into turn 2, maximize the braking, miss the first apex, come back really close to the second one, trying to maximize as much exit speed as you can. Turn 3 is a little bit of a more trickier corner, really smooth inputs and really smooth throttle control. This corner does tend to have the car a little bit oversteer at the very end of it. Turn 4, high risk, high reward, does collect a lot of cars on the very inside. Really want to try and use as much track width as possible as you can. Here we go, coming to turn 5, braking right after the bridge. This turn does have a lot of camber on the inside, so really want to try and use as much of that as you can to your advantage. And here we go, coming with turn 6, light braking, a lot of throttle. Corner has a lot more grip than you think. Really want to try and use as much as you can. Be careful not to really dip a wheel. Have done that in the past, not the best experience. Coming up to turn 7 isn't really so much of a turn, more or less just a break, straight line braking for turn 8. Going down the corkscrew, 5 stories, 500 feet, get a nice shot of the median flag on that. Going down to turn 9, very fast downhill left-hand sweeper. Really sketchy corner, but once you do it right, feels like a real big pucker. Turn 10 comes up a lot quicker than you think, coming out of turn 9, carrying a lot of speed into this corner. And here you can see me right now setting up for turn 11, trying to really maximize the exit, as a lot of people do end up to hook this corner, trying to grab a lot more than what they can hold. And that was a lap around WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca.
17 Lamborghini Huracan Evos out on track, and you are in for some excitement. I don't know why it wouldn't be. Jeremy, take us through the grid.
Starting at the back, it's car number 74, that's Tom Kerr. On row 8 of the grid, Scott Schmidt making his debut this weekend in car number 38. On row 6, it's a Pro-Am car of Ashton Harrison alongside Brian Venus, an Am contender making his return this weekend. Row 2 of the grid, the championship leader, Madison Snow, for Change Racing in car number 16, alongside the Pro-Am Pulsed in car number 99 from Costa Rica for IMSA Motorsports. An excellent effort is Danny Formal. But on the pole position for the first time, brilliant drive to the victory yesterday for IMSA Motorsports from Brazil in car number 13 is Sergio Jimenez.
We'll see what Sergio Jimenez can do today. He starts on pole, and one of the things that was strong about the 13 yesterday was the leap off of that final turn number 11. The officials very strict with the lineup yesterday. We saw a couple of start penalties in the field, much more lined up as they come across the line side by side down into turn 1. Godovic staying to the outside. Can he hold it, Jeremy?
Yeah, he's going to try. So almost three abreast coming out of the corner. That's probably not going to work. Danny Formal then alongside Brandon Godovic as they head into turn 3. It's Godovic because he's going to hold on to that position. I think sneaking in between the two of them might well have been Madison Snow.
I think so. That white number 16 with a different bumper on it today because of some of the pushing and shoving that we saw yesterday. So typically all white, but that black, we'll call it a mustache in front with that new bumper there for Madison Snow. It shows you just how tight the competition is. Saw a lot of rubbing yesterday, Jeremy, side to side, and also front bumper to rear bumper on these Lamborghinis.
Yeah, there was lots of exciting action yesterday. I'm expecting some more of the same today, but certainly another good start from the Brazilian Sergio Jimenez in the lead of this race. And Branislav Dobic, he's all over the back, and that was a really embarrassing problem yesterday. The car just someone had forgot to top it up with fuel before the start of the race. He did it. Nobody did it at the end of the day. But this in this race today, looking to make up for that, running in second place at the moment. But we know Branislav Dobic has a very fast car.
Indeed, he was quick yesterday, but Jimenez out in front right now in the 13. It's where we saw him run all throughout the day yesterday. 50-minute race for Lamborghini Super Trofeo, mandatory pit stop window. It opens 20 minutes after the green flag flies and closes 30 minutes after the green flag. So you've got that 10-minute window there to get the pit stop done. If you're in a dual driver combo, it's an 84 minimum second time on pit lane, 87 if you're a solo driver. We saw that really play out yesterday, but Jimenez so quick right after the pit stop, made a good pit stop, 87 seconds, didn't waste any time on pit lane. It wasn't 89, 90 seconds, it was 87, got back out there and leapt back to the front. And what was impressive for me, Jeremy, that 13 seemed to get stronger and stronger as the stint went on.
Well, yeah, I mean, he was able to turn some really good consistent lap times, wasn't he? And that's really what you need for the race leader out there. If you can run consistent lap times and fast lap times at that, then you're going to be very difficult to beat. And that's exactly the way it planned out yesterday. But he's got his mirrors full now. Branislav Dobic, yesterday he had his first ever pole position. He's had 61 previous starts in this championship, dating back to his debut back in 2015. But for Branislav Dobic yesterday from Yorktown in Virginia, that was his first ever pole position.
Madison Snow came in to the weekend with an 11-point lead over Jacob Edson and Stephen Agakani in the number 6. That's now close to 9 points. Madison Snow just not really having the run that he needed to have yesterday to continue to pull points on the driver pairing of Edson and Agakani. But right now, Jake Edson back in the 5th place position, 4th in the pro category, and Madison Snow up 3rd. This is what he needs to get to for Snow to get some of those points back that he lost yesterday.
Yeah, that's certainly the plan there for him. But we've got 4 cars pretty much nose to tail heading up the hill towards turn 6 here. This is a really tricky corner. It's blind on the entrance. You cannot see the apex of that corner as you turn in to turn 6 from the extreme right-hand side of the racetrack. You've got two wheels out on the curb, almost on the dirt, going into that corner, and a corkscrew. Well, you can't see anything at all as you plunge down the hill there. This is just a tremendously challenging racetrack.
Through Rainy Curve, the car really compresses down there around the apex of turn 9, the left-hander, and the same with turn 10. It's a very, very fast corner, and everything has to be just right when the car compresses there at the apex. Any adjustments, especially any breathe off the throttle, transfers a lot of weight to those front tires. They grip up really well, and the car can get out from underneath you, especially as you come off of the apex of turn 10, because the road kind of falls off camber at the apex. You have to hit it just right down into the Andretti hairpin. Turn 2, though, interesting. We saw multiple lines through there yesterday, Jeremy.
Yeah, we did. It's a really tricky corner. It's a long, kind of double apex corner. Would be one way to take it. Otherwise, you can take one sort of steady arc around there. It's a tricky corner because it's downhill. There's not a lot of grip here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. It's a fairly old racing surface here, relatively speaking. It gets also an awful lot of sun during the summertime as well. Plus, there's this sand that's visible on the edge of the racetrack, and if there's any sort of breeze at all, that gets blown onto the racetrack, and that just makes things even more tricky for the drivers. Fortunately, there's not much wind today, but it's a low grip track, and you've really got to have your wits about you and keep that car pointing in the right direction.
Jimenez leads the field up to the corkscrew and now down the hill, diving through Rainy Curve. And it's an interesting racetrack for me, Jeremy, because it has different levels of grip throughout the racetrack. I always felt like 9 and 10 certainly have the compression that helps give you grip around the apex, but then interesting as far as how they go off camber through turn 11 onto the front straightaway. Typically the car will put the power down pretty well, but when you get down to the exit of turn 2 and then turns 3, turns 4, that area in there, turn 3 and turn 4, always seems to be incredibly low grip. Getting the car into 3 is always difficult in any car I've ever driven here. And so these drivers right now contending with this V10 power plant in the back of the Lamborghini Huracan Evo, trying to get the power down. They've got driver aids, there's traction control, there's anti-lock brakes. That's all well and good, but still a lot of horsepower in the back, and physics is physics. Driver aids don't overcome that.
Well, they don't, do they? And you're right about turn 3 is a really sort of strange corner. Look, turn 4 I love. I mean, that's just about flat out in most cars. It's certainly a lift in these, but it's a very quick corner, total commitment through there. When you drive around the track, turn 3 looks pretty similar, but it's not. It's got a completely different characteristic about it, and it's very, very difficult to get right on a consistent basis, I always find.
Tires up to temperature and pressure. Sergio Jimenez, fastest lap so far was his last lap, so they're just starting to get quicker and quicker. And as I look down the timing sheets, it's pretty much what I'm seeing with most of the top runners right now. And Brandon Godovic, after the problem that he had yesterday, that quick pit stop, lost the lap, really took him out of contention for the victory, obviously, because it put him down a lap, but nothing doing today. He is right there on the wing of the 13 in front of him. So it goes the 13, the 46, then the 16 of Madison Snow. That's the top 3, and the top 3 in pro. Danny Vermael in that bright green number 99, running 4th overall, and just behind him, the red and black number 6, Jacob Edson. And Edson needs to get past Vermael if he wants to do battle with Madison Snow, but that's the challenge with Lamborghini Super Trofeo action. 4 different classes out there, and you get really fast drivers in these other classes, and they can place themselves between you and your competition, the ones that you're trying to get past to get those all-important points. Season winding down.
And we've got an 8-car train here at the front of this field. Last time around, Brandon Godovic just set the fastest lap of the race in that second place car, 126.642. But I tell you what, there's nothing to choose between any of these top 8. They're all turning very similar lap times. Sergio Jimenez, his last 2 laps, they were within 100th of a second of each other. That's really good going in the early stage of this race, but still a long, long way to go. There will be a mandatory pit stop at some stage, kind of halfway through the race. It's a 50-minute race. The window in which you have to make your mandatory pit stop is between 20 minutes and 30 minutes into this 50-minute race.
Sergio Jimenez picking up where he left off yesterday, took the victory in round number 1 at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. He's seeing if he can bookend the weekend with another victory today. Out of the Andretti hairpin, the leader comes Brandon Godovic, not letting Jimenez get away, and Madison Snow staying right there as well. Just one more weekend once these drivers leave here from WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, and the championship's so important. One of the things I find interesting as well, Jeremy, we're talking about the pit stops. You look at the 2 cars up front right now, the 13 and the 46, solo drives in those 2 cars. That means it's 87 seconds on pit lane for those 2 drivers, 84 for the Madison Snow by himself as well. So it'll be interesting after the pit stops. All 3 of them will have the same length pit stop. It's in the Pro-Am category where we see some multiple driver lineups, but that's going to be interesting because you've got one group with a longer pit stop, another one with a shorter, and you see if you can't leapfrog there in pit lane.
Yeah, strategy is certainly important. It's a sprint race. I mean, they're flat out here for 50 minutes, but when you're as closely matched as this, when you make your pit stops can be critical. If you feel that you're being held up by the car in front of you now in these early stages, maybe it's worth coming in and making a pit stop sooner rather than later. If you make your pit stop done, get out on a clear track and hope to turn some quick lap times before the guys in front of you come in to make their scheduled stop.
I look at the number 6 running there in the 5th position, and I wonder if perhaps we'll see Jake Edson stop as soon as the window opens, allowing Agakani to get in. They'll have a 3-second shorter pit stop. And perhaps, since he's right on the rear wing of the 99 right now, perhaps that could gain him some track position when he comes back out, that shorter pit stop.
Yeah, exactly right. That's certainly one thing that'll be on the mind there of that US Racetronics team. They run the number 6 car for Jacob Edson and Stephen Agakani, who is the youngest driver in the field, just 17 years of age. Jacob's only 25, although it seems he's been around the sport for a long time. He's a former champion in these cars. He won the Pro-Am category last season, and he's a former winner of the Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge Series as well. He's had some success in open wheel before that too. So Jacob Edson is very, very talented young driver. The guy just ahead of him, Danny Formal, he's a very different story. He's only had a few weekends of car racing, at least at this level. He is primarily a go-kart driver, an extremely good one. He's paid by teams to run their equipment in go-karts. He's 24 years of age now, lives in Boca Raton, Florida, but originally from Costa Rica. He's been given this opportunity by Alan Nadal and Patrick Otto-Badson from IMSA Motorsports, and he has grabbed it with both hands in that kind of a 99, doing a really, really good job. He got beaten yesterday to the Pro-Am category just from a very forceful drive from Corey Lewis in the closing stages, but right now he's got the upper hand over Corey Lewis. It's Danny Formal in 4th position, Jacob Edson in 5th, and then Corey Lewis in 6th.
I think that battle we saw between Corey Lewis and Danny Formal yesterday, one of the most intense fights we've seen all season long. A little bumping, a little banging, a little side to side, and those two guys really going at it. Shows you the caliber of driver that we have here in Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America action.
And I tell you, I'm not sure I've ever seen Corey Lewis drive as forcefully as that. I mean, he wanted that win. I mean, that was the end of the story. He was going to get that win, and whatever it took, it was a tremendous race between those two. And I think Danny Formal, he was kind of laughing about it afterwards, in a way, but he wanted to get his own back today, and that's what he's doing at the moment. He's running in the 4th position, first in Pro-Am.
Well, an important day for Corey Lewis and McKay Snow. That great drive by Corey Lewis extended their points, gave them an additional 5-point lead over Leo Lamelas in the Pro-Am Driver Championship. You see the 33, John Hennessy, great drive yesterday from him as well, Jeremy, especially coming back from a problem that he had early on.
Yeah, he had a spin early in the race yesterday, but he's brand new to racing. Is John Hennessy. Really interesting story. He started out his sort of working life as a commercial fisherman up in Alaska. He then moved into the demolition business, built a very successful company there, which is now retired from, as we see the cars putting a lap on Tom Kerr. But John Hennessy, he kind of got himself a track day car last year, or a couple of years ago, after retiring from his business, after selling the business, and then thought, hey, this is fun, and had to go here at US Racetronics in one of their Lamborghinis, and he was super impressive right away. So this year, his first ever season of racing, and there he is running at the front in the LB Cup category and 10th position overall.
Well, and he moved into second in the championship yesterday. Matt Dickin not here this weekend, so he moved up a position. He's only one of 3 drivers to have won in the LB Cup category this year. Randy Solari, who leads the championship. Hennessy has 2 wins on the season, and Matt Dickin has a victory as well. So good run by John Hennessy, and I think that's what's important. These classes allow you to get out there and race these cars. They're all identical. They same horsepower, same driver aids, same performance. And as you improve and move up, you can move up from LB Cup to AM, to Pro-Am, to Pro eventually, if that's the route that you want to take. And saw the leaders coming past Tom Kerr, and hats off to Tom Kerr. He did a great job of trying to stay out of the way and not impede anybody. Unfortunately, they caught him at one of the most difficult sections of the racetrack, that turn 6, the run up the Ray Hall straight into the corkscrew. The leaders able to get by as they headed up the hill into turn 5, and I think Jake Edson, Corey Lewis, Stuart Middleton, that group caught him right up around the corkscrew and coming out of it, and that's difficult for everybody, both those making the passes and for Tom Kerr, who was just trying to stay out of the way. He was very aware, so hats off to him.
Yeah, this is distilling now, isn't it, into a 3-car race at the front of the field. Sergio Jimenez dragging Brandon Godovic and Madison Snow there. They're pulling away a little bit from Danny Formal, who's still got his mirrors filled by Jacob Edson, Corey Lewis and Stuart Middleton hanging in there as well. Just looking at the lap times here for the leaders. 1 minute 27.5 last time around for our race leader Sergio Jimenez. The previous lap was 1:27.6. Prior to that, he'd been doing low 27s and then high 26s before that. So the tyres are definitely being used up here. This is a high degradation racetrack. The tyres do tend to go off, lose a little grip as the race goes along, and it's really a question often of who can look after their tyres the best throughout the duration of this race. They're the guys that are probably going to come out on top at the end of the contest.
We'll be right back with more Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America Series right after this. And Madison Snow, we talked about yesterday about how that Change Racing Lamborghini Charlotte entry just didn't seem to have the legs on long runs. And later in the going, he was dropping back and was really at risk of losing another position, but managed to hold on. And it's one of those things where I think the team worked very hard overnight at Change Racing to find Madison Snow a better race car, because right now he's able to stay right there with Godovic.
Well, yeah, 3 different teams here. AMSA Motorsports out in front, Precision Performance Motorsports in second place, Change Racing in third. And with this Dyson going up the front here, I think Sergio Jimenez, his car is sliding around a little bit more than perhaps he would like. Danny Formal, he's beginning to close that gap again in 4th position. And he's pulled away just a little bit. He's got a little bit more breathing space now over Jacob Edson than he has had for most of this race so far. 12 laps completed. That Jacob Edson car number 6 for US Racetronics, he struggled yesterday, particularly in qualifying. The car was just oversteering too much, so they just kind of missed the setup on that car. It came better in the race, and I'm sure they're hoping that it will get better again as this race progresses.
In a car that's oversteering is not one that you want to spend a lot of time in around this racetrack. The high-speed sections, especially turns 9 and 10, we talked about with the compression there at the apex. If you get in there and you need to adjust and you have to worry about the back end of the car coming out when you get to those compressions, that is definitely going to weigh heavily on your mind. It's going to limit the speed that you can roll through those apexes. So get that sorted out, and you've got a much more comfortable driver. And a comfortable driver here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca is usually a fast driver. Jimenez certainly was comfortable yesterday, but has had no breathing room at all. Brandon Godovic has stayed right there with him. Madison Snow now slipping back a car length or two. And you said it, the bright green 99 of Danny Formal really beginning to close on Madison Snow. And I think it's Snow more falling back into the clutches of Formal than Formal necessarily moving forward.
Yeah, but this whole pack, they're still pretty close together. As well, 13.
Yeah, nobody's let anybody get
almost,
away. That's for
no,
sure.
there's not. I mean, 20 minutes into the race, it's still a really, really good race going here. The pit window is going to be open by the time they get back down the hill to the pit entrance. So you can now make your mandatory pit stop from any point from now. That's 30 minutes remaining in this race.
10-minute window to get the stop done. Will there be any takers this time around? Are you in a track position situation where, and the leader, Jimenez, in early, and who's following him there? Is that the number 6 back behind, I think, perhaps? Would not be strange to see Edson come in and hand over to Agakani. And the time that we talk about, the minimum pit stop time, is from the pit speed limit line at pit in to the pit speed limit line at pit out. So it's not how long you have to sit still in the pit box. Teams adjusting some air pressures, trying to make sure that they lead them down just a little bit. The tires aren't overpressured. You want to get as much grip as you possibly can, get them to be as compliant as you possibly can. But you said it, this racetrack, without a lot of grip on it, Jeremy, the car slides around a fair amount, and you can get some significant tire degradation here. That these drivers need to make sure they're taking care of these Pirelli tires.
Leader, they've been dropping away a little bit. They were down in the low 28s the last couple of laps before he made the pit stop. There's a quick glance of John Hennessy. He's also in the pit lane. We've got a half a dozen cars on the pit lane at the moment. There is the Pro-Am car. That's Ashton Harrison. Whoops, Brian Thenis is off the road. That's at turn 4.
And that
somebody else
could
involved. There's another car as well. Is there another car there as well? No, maybe not.
No, that could be a problem twofold. One, the gravel is deep there, and you can see it piled up in front of the left rear. Two, we saw the 25 with an overheating issue, and that looks very similar. I see the steam coming out of the engine compartment there. That V10 perhaps overheated, and that could be a problem. We could go full course caution. In fact, we have.
And smart thinking there by both the Precision Performance Motorsports team and Change Racing, because number 46 and 16 both ducked into the pits before the pits were closed. At least I think it was before the pits were closed. They will therefore be able to make their service. The teams that did not come onto the pit lane, they're going to have to stay out. That includes Danny Formal and Corey Lewis. So the two Pro-Am contenders both have yet to make a pit stop. Also, Stuart Middleton stayed out. The AM class leader, Victor Gomez IV, also stayed out on the racetrack.
Just kind of get the tail end of it there, the car sliding around. And what I don't know, I see that telltale steam out of the engine compartment, and it makes me wonder if the car had overheated on the way around on that lap, and perhaps fluid spilling out, and that's what caused the spin there. Pit lane now open, and the remaining cars look like they'll dive in. Understand
okay,
the 25 pit stop. Yeah, understand the 25 stop just a little bit short, 38 just a little bit short as well. And safety crews
if they're short by less than a second, that's no big deal. I think
right.
If you're more than a second shorter than the minimum time, then it's a pretty draconian penalty. So you want to make sure you don't do that. They will have timers on board these cars. They've timed how long it gets to get from their pit box to the pit exit. As we see again that replay of that big spin for Brian Thenis.
But
making his return to the series this weekend. Yeah, that's curious.
On the way in, I could see the steam in that shot. It was a little longer shot than the one we had before. That car was hot as he got to that corner. And I go back to what I said a moment ago, Jeremy, and I wonder if the car had overheated and was spilling fluid, and that's what caused the spin.
Yeah, it could be.
And it's interesting. It's not 200 yards from where we saw Ashton Harrison with the same problem yesterday. Field lined up down through turn 10, getting ready through 11. You want to be able to get the power down, that V10 power coming out of turn 11 so you can get the run down into the Andretti hairpin. Godovic second in line, in the throttle early, tried to stay up with Vermal. Vermal with a good run, green flag flies. We're racing again at WeatherTech Raceway.
Yeah, and next time around, I would imagine we will see Danny Formal, Corey Lewis, Stuart Middleton, Victor Gomez, and Sydney McKee onto the pit lane. Sydney doing a good job there of staying out of the way. She's an LB Cup contender. Of course, she leads the class right now for prestige performance with all of the other contenders in LB Cup, except for Tom Kerr, having already made their mandatory stops.
John Hennessy in the blue and gold 33 working his way past the 25. Andrea Amici, I believe, behind the wheel of the 25 being shown there. And Amici, I was going to say, typically would have an answer for John Hennessy. He does, gets back past Godovic in that black, gray, and silver 46, streaking up the hill, trying to work his way up through traffic. Wants to have clear sailing when the car is in front. Make that pit stop. I would expect to see them in pit lane soon, Jeremy.
Yeah, probably this time. For Andrea Amici, both he and John Hennessy, they're a lap down to the overall leaders. So Leo Lamelis is the only Pro-Am contender on the lead lap that has already made his pit stop. So the other guys coming in right now, they're probably going to lose more than a lap. Well, they are going to lose more than a lap, I believe, by making their stop. So Andrea Amici, as we see the top four coming into the pits right now, is going to hand the battle for the lead here there was somebody making a move on John Hennessy, but there's some good battling going on here further down the field.
Well, the order as they run is Godovic, Agacani, and Jimenez, and they've got lap cars mixed in. John Hennessy, some of the other LB Cup contenders, and Jimenez has been very aggressive in traffic, getting past Hennessy through turn 3, trying to stay up with Agacani and Godovic just in front. And a problem down in turn 3 at the exit of 3. John Hennessy, we were just talking about him, off into the gravel. Is he stuck? And I believe he's had contact. The rear bumper seems to be askew, right rear damage. In fact, the right rear suspension looks to be askew, Jeremy. Yeah,
maybe that's probably going to bring out another full course caution. Yeah, there goes the caution period out now. So that's unfortunate for him. And what happened? Was he assisted here? That's Randy Solari on the inside in car number. No, it's not. It's Madison Snow.
It's Madison Snow, I think.
Who'd slipped back for some reason on that restart. He should have been in the second position right behind the number 46, but he slipped back behind both a 6 and a 13. That's a bit weird, wasn't it? Two side-by-side contact between Snow there and John Hennessy as he headed down towards turn 4. That's a bit bizarre.
Significant contact, and it was hard on that replay at speed to tell just who moved. Did Madison Snow believe that he had cleared him and start to come back to the left, or does Hennessy slide right just a little bit and make contact? It looked to be left rear to right front, left rear of Snow to right front of Hennessy, and that's what upset the 33 and gets him into the wall. Snow, tough to tell. We were able to see a replay, but really kind of tough to tell. It doesn't matter. Day done. The yellow's out again, and this is going to shorten up that sprint to the checkered flag even more. And the question is, I'm sure the officials are going to look at it. Are we going to see any kind of a potential penalty for Madison Snow? Because that would have huge championship implications.
Well, it really would, yes. I'm sure the officials looking at it, just kind of inconclusive, wasn't it, from kind of the from view I thought that we saw there. But very unfortunate incident for those two to get together.
Well, and interesting that, as you said, Jeremy, Madison Snow had dropped back on that restart a little bit, expected him to be further up in the order, so he was back there. And as they lined up behind the safety car, we talked about it. It's one of those things, you're working your way through traffic, and that's exactly what Madison Snow was doing. He gets to the inside of John Hennessy, and they're side by side as they run up to 4. And the two cars just barely touch, left rear of Madison Snow to right front of John Hennessy, but it's enough to get Hennessy out of shape and into the fence.
Yeah, I mean, you come out of that corner, you're on that curb on the left-hand side, that white curb, and certainly Hennessy drifts across a little bit to the right there. Whereas when you're heading into turn 4, you want to be right on that red and white curbing on the left-hand side of the racetrack when you turn into that corner. It's a flat curb. It doesn't upset the car at all. You want to be right on there because it kind of opens up the corner so you can take a slightly shallower arc and therefore more speed through that corner. So certainly Madison Snow would not have expected John Hennessy to drift away to the right, away from that curb on the left-hand side of the racetrack. So I think you've got to put that down just to kind of a racing incident, and a very unfortunate one, because John Hennessy, having won their class yesterday, was doing a really, really good job and hanging in there in a very, very good position.
You know, we talked about the different drivers up front, and you mentioned the 13 and the IMSA Motorsports, and I can't say how impressed I am with that team, because they stepped into the deep end. This is like any single make series. There are lessons that you must learn about these cars, and there are little tricks to them to get them to be maximized. And IMSA has come on board and joined the series, and they have gotten up to speed literally and figuratively very quickly.
Yeah, particularly having missed the first race of the season and done pretty much no testing before making the team's debut at VIR a month or two ago. It's pretty remarkable how quickly they've got up to speed with these cars, just learning what makes them tick. The drivers getting the most out of them as well. So hats off to them. But just a little bit unfortunate in this race. You remember when the pit window was open, the first cars to come onto pit lane were the number 13 and the number 6. They were running at that time in first and fifth respectively. The number 46 and the number 16, they came in a lap later. And they were able to get ahead. All of those cars were able to get ahead of the number 13 car. So the IMSA team, even though they've done a super job with this car, I think perhaps a slightly slower pit stop, well, obviously a slightly slower pit stop than the number 6. And then I think the fact that number 46 and 16 were able to go a lap longer, they were able to leapfrog kind of between them as well. So, it's all one of the lessons you've got to learn in this series. When you make your pit stops, how you make everything work. Plus, there's always a little bit of fortune involved, either good or bad. And I think certainly for some of these teams today, it's been misfortune, the timing of this full course cautions.
The lights are off on the safety car. 2 minutes, 25 seconds to go. 2 laps, I would think, Jeremy, to settle this race. Round 8, is it going to come down to 2 laps?
Yeah, possibly less. They'll be lucky. I'm not even sure whether they're going to get 2 in. They might just about get 2 in. I certainly hope so. It's going to be fairly tight. They're going to have to hustle, I think, a little bit. And of course, the race leader, Brandon Godovic, he won't want to hustle. If it's just 1 lap to the finish, that'll be fine by him. The time is ticking now. 1 minute 53 to go. They do about 1 minute 30 seconds. So about 20 seconds from now, it'll be 1 lap to go if they don't get to the finish line within 20 seconds.
I think he's going to get there. 140, 139, 38, 37. Green flag waves, and he crosses the line with 135 to go. Should be white flag next time by. And what a run from Godovic off that final corner. Pulled big time on Agakani there in second place as he got down to the Andretti hairpin, but then that accordion effect in the braking zone closes it back up. What can Agakani do, if anything, and what does Jimenez have up his sleeve?
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting couple of laps. Certainly, Jimenez having led very convincingly all the way through the opening stages before making his pit stops. He wants to get back up into the second place, if not the first. But that was a really good restart by Brandon Godovic. He's put a little bit of daylight in between himself and Stephen Agakani, and that's exactly what he needs with the time ticking away in this race.
These Pirelli tires have cooled down. It's going to take half a lap or so to get them back up to the temperature you want. Godovic wasting no time. His experience being shown right now as he's beginning to inch away from the 6 of Agakani just behind him. But the fight may be for the final step on the podium. Madison Snow in the 16 trying to close down on Jimenez just in front. Into
really
turn
good
11.
Restart lap for Godovic. Excuse me, Brian. He's able to put probably better part of a second between himself and his pursuer, Stephen Agakani here. The white flag is flying. Just 2.238 miles to go for this 8th round of the Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America.
Brandon Godovic trying to find his second victory of the season. He won at VIR in race number 2 there. Can he add a second victory in 2020, and what's our championship going to look like at the end of this race? Or Stephen Agakani and Jacob Edson going to continue to close on Madison Snow and make it that much closer heading into the final round at Sebring? The final 2 rounds at Sebring, I should say.
Yeah, that's right. And I tell you what, a good restart there by Leo Lamelas. He has cemented his lead in the Pro-Am category. He's still ahead of Stephen McAleer. Danny Formal and Andrea Amici both found a way past McKay Snow on that lap. So McKay Snow in the Pro-Am Championship leading car number 63, the car that won yesterday. He's got a pretty handy lead in the championship. It's only 13 points, so it's not that big. And he's fallen now down to the 4th position with his closest rival in the points, Leo Lamelas, out in front for US Racetronics.
2 corners to go. Brandon Godovic making up for yesterday, a race they would like to forget, and forget he has from the drop of the green starting outside the front row. Brandon Godovic has been spectacular today. Race number 2 at WeatherTech Raceway belongs to Brandon Godovic in Lamborghini Super Trofeo North American action. His second win of the season. Agakani second, Jimenez third, then Madison Snow. That is going to close down the championship in the pro category. Leo Lamelas, with that great restart, is going to take the victory in Pro-Am. A good run for him. The 87 Sidney McKee, new to Lamborghini Super Trofeo this season, the rookie being shown taking the victory. How special is that for Sidney McKee in LB Cup? Welcome back to the Monterey Peninsula and WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Race 2 of the weekend for the Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America Series is complete, but we have some major news in the Pro Class involving penalties to the 2 cars that we thought were first and second as the field took the checkered flag. The 46 of Brandon Godovic and the 6 of Stephen Agacani both were just handed 29-second post-race penalties for not serving drive-through penalties, which were assessed after the restart with approximately 17 minutes to go, and this is going to have huge implications in the championship points of the Pro Class. Taking a look at the new results after the penalties were assessed, Sergio Jimenez will now inherit the win and make it a sweep of the weekend. Impressive weekend for him and the IMSA Motorsports team. The 46 Precision Performance Motorsports Lamborghini of Brandon Godovic, who we thought was the winner, drops to 10th overall and 4th in the Pro Class points. That moves points leader Madison Snow into 2nd overall after he thought he had finished behind his 2 nearest competitors in the championship. Leo Lamelas rounds out the top 3 and claims the victory in Pro-Am. Victor Gomez, the highest finishing Am driver, in the 8th place. And how about the 9th place finish and LB Cup class win for the 87 of Sidney McKee? This will prove to be a memorable weekend for that young driver. Moving on to the second page, and this is where it gets important. You see the pairing of Stephen Agacani and Jacob Edson in the number 6 fall all the way back to 11th overall and 5th in Pro. And most importantly, they end up behind Madison Snow on the track and in the points. Such a huge penalty to both the 6 and the 46. Randy Solari comes home in 12th. The 33 and the 17 round out the field. But now let's go to Victory Lane and hear from our winner.
Well, I'm really happy about that. I knew that this race was going to be tough. Everybody works more for today, the second race. And first stint was okay. And we chose to stop the first lap because could be a safety car, and we did right. We came in the first lap we can. The team called me in the cross creek downhill. I said, go or not? And I came and it was perfect. We did a good pit stop, and then it was a mess because another safety car, I don't know if you can stop in safety car, go out with safety car. So I was talking with the team, they don't know still also. But I think I won today in the restart when I could overtake a lot of cars in a few moments. It was a good call from the team when it was green. And and then it was managed. The team said to me before the last green that the 2 cars in front had a punishment, and that's it.
Congratulations to Sergio and all the class winners, and we'll move on now to provisional points after round 8 and that crazy finish. The complexion of the Pro Class has changed big time after the penalties to the number 6 of Agacani and Edson, as well as the 46 of Godovic. They all thought they were going to make up points in the championship hunt with their respective 1st and 2nd place finishes today, but that was not to be. After the penalty assessment, Madison Snow is now 15 points ahead of Edson and Agacani and 19 better than Brandon Godovic. Moving to Pro-Am, Corey Lewis, McKay Snow, they lost a couple of points over the weekend and now have an 8-point lead on Leo Lamelas. It was 10 coming in to WeatherTech Raceway, but all season long they've owned that points lead. In the Am class, Victor Gomez has a huge lead and the championship certainly within his sights. And in LB Cup, Randy Solari still on top with a 22-point advantage over John Hennessy. The next race on NBCSN for the Lamborghini Super Trofeo North American Series will be rounds 9 and 10, the final 2 rounds of the season. They'll decide the championship from Sebring International Raceway during the Mobile One 12 Hours of Sebring weekend, happening in just a few weeks' time. NBC Sports is your exclusive home for IMSA sports car racing. The Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America Series showed just how competitive it is this weekend. Congratulations to all the winners, and thank you for watching. So long, everyone.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of the International Motorsports Association. We would like to thank all of our loyal fans for your continued support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.